Conversations with the Citizen. I am here today with Ghanaian artist Kwame Akoto Bamfo. Did I say that right?
Yeah.
Yay! Okay. Kwame is the creator of the Blank Slate Hope for a New America sculpture that will be unveiled at the DuSable Museum of African American History on Saturday, June 19th, Juneteenth. Kwame, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm an artist and an educator, foremost. And in fact, what's more significant about myself that I choose to use art to educate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Why did you decide to create the Blank Slate statue?
Well, my work has primarily been, for the past 11 years, been studying African heritage, African history, and I've been creating a lot of sculptures in Ghana, and then of course in the US at the Lynching Museum, National Monument for Peace and Justice, and the Legacy Museum in Montgomery, Alabama. So most of my work has got to do with African heritage, African history, and as part of what I do, a very significant portion or part of my work has been dedicated to the legacy of the transatlantic slave trade, or in fact African enslavement as a whole. And naturally I have developed a passion for following up on my ancestors, or I would say our ancestors, who had been ripped off from the continent. And the Blank Slate Monument is a natural evolution of that passion. That's my quest to know about my ancestors and what happened to them when they left the continent. America has been one of the major places where my ancestors have been brought to, and the Blank Slate Monument is the embodiment of the American experience, as I have come to learn as an outsider, not as somebody who has necessarily lived the African American experience. So the symbolism and everything that is used in as part of the monument stemmed from this passion. That's why I created it. But originally, it was started. I've always wanted to create the Blank Slate Monument, but it was started because I wanted to do. I was following the dialogue on whether to keep or to get rid of Confederate monuments in America, and so the Blank Slate Monument is my contribution to that dialogue, and mostly it's not only about Confederate monuments, but I'm very positive that the whole argument about Confederate monuments and whether we are keeping them or losing them is because of a purpose. There's a particular thing. That thing, if I should shorten this talk, is racial injustice, and how African Americans have been subjected to racial injustice, racial inequality, police brutality, stereotyping, all the negative things that have come up over the years. So the Blank Slate Monument is a response to all this. It's a natural desire to follow up on the descendants of my ancestors and to contribute in their dialogue as it's happening now, this generation.
Can you explain what the statue symbolizes?
There is actually more than one symbol, but one of the main symbols that I chose to add, or in fact for better reference to deduct, was to completely rip the statue off of a pedestal. So I've been following how Confederate monuments are usually presented, and usually they have these really high pedestals ranging anywhere from 20 feet to 40 feet high. And for me, and this monolithic structure that you see, that these pedestals, they are very phallic, white male symbols that I felt represented white privilege. Because when you look at the figures on top of all of these structures, they're usually for white males who may not have necessarily been good to our people, and they are not the heroes of black people. And for they to be up there, they were only up there, up that high, because of that pillar or that pedestal. And so I decided that our story doesn't necessarily always have to be reactive, because over the years, that's what appears that we as black people we are doing. We are trying so much to prove ourselves as human beings, as non-second class citizens of the world. And in doing so, we fail to show our actual experience, especially within our arts. We are being reactive to what we don't want to see. We sometimes it appears to me that we are seeking validation through our art. So if we have a Confederate monument on a 40 feet pedestal, then the natural response becomes, let's put our figure on a 40 feet pedestal. But I think it's come to the point where we should realize that we have a black experience, an African experience, an African American experience. And our pedestal is not privilege, but it's resilience and what we have gone through as a people to be here this day. And that is why I decided to completely strip our monument off a pedestal. And for those who've seen it, you will realize that one of the most, with the symbols, the last piece is a woman with a placard on top. And this woman does not stand on a pedestal like we have Confederate soldiers. She is standing on her ancestors to be able to reach that high, to be able to raise her placard high for people to see the lantern in her left arm and then a placard in her right arm.
The statue is interactive, and so how does that work?
Well, the statue has you're able to reprogram the text on the placard and get it to say whatever you want it to say. And yeah, that's the interactive piece. I think it is my favorite part of the statue, of the whole monument. The fact that I don't get to play God with the symbols that is presented in an experience that I may not have necessarily lived. So it's very right to let the actual people who have gone through this experience get the opportunity to decide what the statue represents and what it should say, where it should be, and what people get to learn from it.
Where have you stopped so far on the tour, and what has been the reaction to your work?
Well, we started, we unveiled at the Kentucky Center for African American Heritage, and that's in Louisville. And we've been to Princeton, we've been to Detroit. At Detroit, we set it out right outside the entrance to the Motown Museum, and now we are here.
I've heard the slave at the bottom of the statue looks like George Floyd. Did you know about George Floyd's death when you created the statue?
I actually created this statue in 2019.
Oh, okay.
And I'm asked this a lot when the resemblance, the uncanny look on the last minutes of brother George Floyd, and the resemblance is so close. But I actually created this before, and whenever I'm asked, I tell people there are two answers. I always tell people that there's a whole spiritual side to this. There's an emotional, spiritual, sentimental, psychic side to this, and then there is the logical and statistic side, practical, pragmatic references that we can make, analogies that we can make. Spiritually, they say in Ghana, in Africa, where I come from, Ghana, Africa, that artists are mounted by the gods or by the ancestors, and then we are used to premonitate or to show what is about to come and what to avoid, and much more like prophesize. But I'm not that kind of person who wants to claim that I'm that spiritual. I would rather want to draw attention to the pragmatic side of this phenomenon, that how random are the killings and the brutalization of black people, that I can be in Ghana in 2019 and create a set of symbols that it's so just comes to pass. So at the bottom we have brother George Floyd, who was knelt on, and then on top of brother George Floyd we have the Union soldier, who is being lynched even though he saved his country and has returned from war. And so we have what happened to brother George Floyd, and the other day I'm online, I'm looking at another brother who was served in the army, who was being harassed, I think at a gas station somewhere. Yeah. And that peace also came to pass. Then there were the protests, which is what the woman represents. So I think it just draws attention to the fact that I can literally close my eyes and cook up that a black man will be brutalized with a newspaper, and it may just come through. And it's not because I am a prophet, but it's because it happens so very often. Yeah.
What do you want people in Chicago to know about Ghana and Africa?
Well, Ghana has the highest number of slave castles in the world. So a lot of people, black people in the Caribbean, are more likely to have come from Ghana. In the 90s, the chiefs and Ghana officially apologized for the country's involvement in African enslavement. But my work, for anybody who follows my work, I have the name Inchinchim. You can go online and look for Inchinchim or Inchinchim installation. My work has a very, very consistent approach to black healing, because you can't say one time, render an apology for something that has gone on for 400, 500 years. In 2019, America was commemorating 400 years of resilience, but when we take into account Portuguese, Spanish accounts, and even the Arab enslavement, we are looking at anything past 500 years. You can't render a one-time apology in a one-time event to a limited number of people, and then you feel make up for the lives that people are even living now. I'm turning 38 next month, and the people out there who are experiencing police brutality and who are experiencing being considered as second-class citizens of the world have an experience and pain that have gone beyond that one-time apology.
Right.
So my work is continuous apology. My work is continuous dedication. My work is continuous voicing out, dialoguing, contributing to something that may never end in my lifetime. I like the symbols that have been used. People have fought for freedom that they never got to enjoy.
Right.
So that's what my work is about. I will continue contributing to this dialogue, no matter the consequences, and should the freedom that we want for Black people happen in my lifetime, I'll be happy, but we'll keep moving on, because that's the tradition. It's a freedom tradition. We came to meet it,
Right.
and we're going to continue.
Great,
Yeah.
great. What inspires you?
Life.
Okay.
Life, happiness, progress, problem solving.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when did you realize that art was your passion?
That's the easiest question. So I didn't know my age at the time I started sculpting or doing art, but my mother says I was 3.
Oh, okay.
So,
Great,
yeah.
great. Where can people go to find out more about your work?
In Ghana, they can come to Ada. I have at least 1,500 life-size portraits that I make in commemoration of our ancestors who were lost and were never celebrated. It's an ongoing project. I still make portraits every day of Africans in the diaspora. In Alabama, they can go to the Lynching Museum or Legacy Museum, or the proper name, the National Monument for Peace and Justice, that was started by the EJI, Equal Justice Initiative, as a brainchild of Brian Stevenson. In Germany, there's a museum, Stoa 169 in Poland. I have a work there dedicated to, or as protest to, basically France bullying Haiti.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Okay. Great, great. Before we wrap up, is there anything else that you'd like to add?
I'd like to reiterate that we and our people and Black people, we are part of a freedom tradition.
Okay.
And it's important that everybody realize that they are linked in a chain, and a chain that leads to progress, not a chain that binds or imprisons us. And we need to redefine what a chain means to us, and we need to become a positive link. We need to become part of the freedom tradition, because we are enjoying freedom right now at a certain level, not totally, but at a certain level that we didn't fight for. Freedom that was started, was fought for by others who never got to enjoy. And it's our responsibility to make sure that our descendants also enjoy a certain level of freedom that we don't know now.
Great, thank you.
Remember to make plans to join us again next week for Conversations with the Citizen, the place where real news